My fellow Amazonians, this is Dr. Cho Ayaba. Good morning to everyone. This morning I was listening to a statement from DDC Capo directed to all AGovCs and advising them to refocus on Cameroon, to refocus their energy and all what they have on Cameroon, because as he explained, the enemy is extremely very happy when we focus on ourselves trying to tear down each other, and so we don't expose the atrocities of the enemy, we don't expose the policies and practices that has an impact on the daily lives of our people. And I think I really want to re-echo that message from the DDC Capo, not only to all AGovCs, but to all Amazonians. Let's try to refocus our energy on the enemy that has kept us in bondage for 60 years. We as a people will always have differences, and we will always live together. And we must find subtle ways to communicate to each other and find temporal fixes to perceive intractable differences. And that's my advice. The past 5 years has shown us that the conception of hate groups and strategies to destroy, to dislocate others have not yielded dividend. But the conception of strategies to delegitimize the enemy on the ground and impose a higher cost on their occupation and shatter their international diplomatic personality has worked in our favor. And if we invest more time in these activities, it's going to help us. Yesterday I was listening to a speech by Barack Obama in the climate summit in Scotland, and when he addressed the young people, he said the young people must understand the position of those who hate policies that might alter the destiny of the earth. He gave two examples, and these examples are critical to the Amazonian struggle. He talked about the ideological entrenched persons and groups that profit from climate destruction. And he said those are people that will be very difficult to convince or nearly impossible. And he talked about ordinary mothers. Probably he referred to India, where people still use a lot of coal to heat up, to light up. And if you want to transition from coal to clean energy, it has a cost on these ordinary people. And so you must understand their opposition to climate policies that might instead impact them in a short term negatively. And so he talked about ways of mitigating these kinds of opposition. He talked about persuasion, continuous education, continuous campaigning, and incentives. If you want to transition from coal to clean energy, you must put in place incentives that will mitigate the suffering of these ladies who are still burning coal to heat up and light up. So too is our war of liberation. There are people in the opposite side that you can convince. You know, I give an example. Prince J. Carl is someone that when you listen to him from the beginning of this war of liberation, he's a very passionate believer in our independence. Very passionate. And he gave his energy, everything he had. And he supports the impostors. He supports the impostors. But should that make him an automatic enemy? Another point about Prince J. Car. I communicated with him, I think a month ago. I think for the first time. How did that come about? I came to realize Prince J. Car's grandfather, was my father's best friend. I don't want to go into details. When I learned of that, I sent him a message. I said, hey, Prince, would you mind talking? It didn't take long, he responded. So if Prince J. Car really hated me, do you think he would have responded? He wouldn't have responded. Maybe Prince J. Car is just frustrated by what I do. Maybe he's just angry that maybe if I made some compromises to the IG before, maybe we wouldn't have been here. Maybe he's thinking that way because he doesn't really know my own side of the story. Maybe if I communicated the compromises I made to the IG, maybe he would have a better understanding towards me. Later on, he called me. I missed the call. I called him. He was at work. He said he's at work, he's gonna call me. We haven't spoken, but we communicated. You don't make peace with your friends. All of us. So Prince J. Car is the mother in India Obama talked about. You know, you might not be able to convince the Gideons. You know, you might not. But maybe if you reach out to the J. Cars, you would begin to build better working relationship. Another example, Sama Thomas has attacked me ferociously. We've known ourselves for long. When Sama Thomas came to Europe, he reached out to me. He didn't know where to go. And I assigned the Secretary General of the Hague of Sea in Belgium to pick him up. And he did. You saw when Chairman Kavi lost the mom, we were all there. Sat together. And sometimes he has called me when he's angry. Sometimes I've called him and we've spoken. I encourage you to reach out. Let me talk a bit about the CDN conference. There has been a lot of talks. You see, efforts that sometimes may bring us together might easily lead to a lot of energy directed at attacking one another. But also we owe to our people some level of explanation. How did the Hague of Sea manage to sit with the enablers? Which is its policy not to sit. And the Hague of Sea has a responsibility to explain how that happened. And I have planned to do that so that you can understand. When we were invited to the conference, we didn't have an exhaustive list. A list came to us, the participants. We spotted an unusual name and we asked for clarity on objective of this particular organization. We didn't even take note of Agbopala's organization. We didn't take note. If we had taken note, the Hague of Sea wouldn't have even gone to Toronto. We wouldn't have gone. So you should understand that. So we didn't really take note of some of these participants. We asked questions about Dr. Fontem because he appeared there as Dr. Fontem. And we wanted to know what is his role, you know. See, I mean, there was another organization which we sought to get clarity. I'm not certain if the Hague of Sea got that clarity, since the Vice President was in charge of overseeing everything with our Foreign Affairs Department. When we arrived at Toronto, And the team went in and reported to me that you have some of these enablers there. And I said, you have to follow policy. We don't have to sit with these guys. And the vice president went in and announced our withdrawal. He set in motion a seismic, what I call a kind of a tornado. My desk was flooded. I reviewed all the appeals that were coming my way. And I put the team aside. You had the vice president, the chairman of our council of mission, the chairman of our national council. I pick out these three individuals because they represent the executive and almost the legislative branches of the Amazonian Governing Council. So you had all the branches of the organization, was there. So it means if any decision would be made, accepted, the chairman of the National Council will be able to convince all heads of missions of the AGOVC across the globe that this is a sensible decision. The chairman of the National Council will be able to vote that into law for it to be binding on the Amazonian Governing Council, and the vice president, as deputy head of executive, will be able to enforce that decision. So you had all of them there. So I was the only one. And I asked them a question. Based on all the discussions you are having after your withdrawal, what do you think? They said, Mr. President, we think we should stay. And I said, that will be against policy. And they said, yes. But the negatives for withdrawing will far outweigh the positive. It would have given the Amazonian Governing Council a more negative image in the international scene. We have a negative image already. We are seen as hardliners, intransigent. We have this negative image. And we had there the IGK, we had the consortium participating, we have 7 Qatars, Psalms 91, all of these people. And a few of these enablers. And when they said that, I said to myself, I said to them, all right, go in, take full responsibility in front of our people and in front of the organization. I will defend your position. It was not easy from AGOVC. Digimas came roaring. Others came straight at me. Did I give permission? Some I responded, some I couldn't respond because the attack from the AGOVC, then you people in Amazonia were not even really aware. And I said, 5 years into this war, when you are caught in such a situation, let me give some hope with this decision to our people. I know the majority of Amazonians who are not ideological, who just want us to come together, who want some semblance of seeing the AGOVC in places where there are meetings, are happy. But I owe you an explanation on how this decision was made. Will I go back? If there is a meeting with these enablers to sit in, it's not going to happen. Would there be circumstances where it may happen? Yes, there are circumstances where the benefit, where they are peripheral in the entire discussion. Sometimes they are just peripheral in the entire discussion. And they are there for whatever reason. So we'll focus on the discussion. We're 5 years into the war. And there are certain things that we will do. So I encourage you to reach out to the JCAS. I encourage you, because when you look at the JCAS, they are critical of their own group. They are critical of individuals. That's a democratic spirit. Reach out. Reach out. And to shame the ideologues, to shame those who hold intractable positions that it's impossible for us to ever find a way or common grounds on any issue. I will continue to reach out, and I hope that one day these discussions, private discussions, will yield to something. But for the meantime, let all of us focus our energy on the enemy. I advise especially the AGOVCs and Ambazonians who listen to me. Focus on Yaoundé. Allow some of these temptations. If there are, I have given a prescription to my press secretary and to other communicators like the DDC on how to respond to false attacks. Like if you follow the DDC's message the other day, he responded to some false audios. You must not respond with attacks. Just give clarification. If somebody said Ayaba was in Toronto and was singing the Cameroon anthem, just come out and inform our people that the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council is not in Toronto, and in the hall no anthem has been sung. Cameroon's anthem has not been sung, and it will never happen, and that is false. And we urge our people to focus on their liberation. You just come out like that, people would take that information. But if you come out and you start also attacking the other side, you create counter attacks, you